Happy 2026, guys! What a wonderful new year we are now beginning with. And I'm super excited about the year ahead. I hope you guys are too. What a wonderful year we've had in 2025. And I wish and hope that lots more blessings come your way for 2026. We're back with our Chaii Charcha, powered by Chaii, brand new podcast for 2026 with lots of new guests. I am super excited about is somebody who has been in the retail food industry for decades. Her contribution has been gigantic. And when I say gigantic, I'm talking about running into billions of pounds worth of contribution. She is known as the World Food Queen. Let me introduce you to Noor Ali. Hi, Noor.
What a starting, Fatima. What are you doing?
But
Amazing.
it's so true.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so true.
I mean, well,
You are known
Yeah.
as the World Food Queen.
yes.
You know, that title, for South Asians like me
Yeah.
who now go into a supermarket and we see the aisle, we feel represented.
Yes.
We feel that, our needs are being met.
Yes.
And you're the pioneer behind that.
Well, you say you're, but yes, it was, having done a family business in supermarket. In Bradford with my brothers, we learned absolutely loads about retail. Don't forget, my parents are from the clothing manufacturing. They had their own warehouse and where they made the clothes. And, I remember my dad used to go and cut the actual cloth across this long table and be up there cutting it all, putting it into bags and delivering it to ladies to make. And I don't even remember the word pencil skirts and
Oh, God,
oh yes, yeah. So my dad was, my mum and dad did all that. So eventually went into opening a supermarket with my brothers. Really, it was fantastic because we learnt loads, but we tried to change loads. And when I say try to change, it's changing from, what it's like when you go into like a smaller independent shop. It's not always, what you're looking for, and is everything there, the range, packaging. And literally we thought, what else could we be doing? And we thought we're going to open a supermarket. And that's exactly what we did in Bradford.
That's a big change, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Parents are doing
Yeah.
in clothing,
Yes.
making patterns for these
Yeah.
fantastic. Everybody
Yeah, they
wanted
did
a
all
pencil
sorts.
skirt back then,
Yeah.
and we all did. That was the fashion thing. To then go into food,
Yes.
two completely different
Yes, it was.
territories.
It was.
And retail from manufacturing to retail.
Yes.
Again, very two different types of
Absolutely.
industries. What was the deciding factor to what was the reason for going into?
So I think a change in family commitments and things like that. Literally there was this empty building on Legram's Lane. And I remember my brother Salim saying, I know there's this empty building. Let's buy it. Let's go into food. And I was like, what do we know about food? But what do you know? Because at least I cook a little bit. But yeah, he said, no, let's go into this. So yeah, we did. And I think what we did was we changed what an independent can look like. So that's from having technology. So things being on a system where you can just go through the till and put them through. So all that EPOS. We had consistency in terms of range on shelf. So working with all the suppliers. And most importantly, we had aisles where trolleys could go through comfortably and shop. We even had meat counters. We had a curry counter, I remember when we first started. All the things that are really quite important now in when you're shopping. I think that's what really made the change in terms of what food retailing from a ethnic point of view could look like.
So you changed the shopping experience.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, my dad had a little grocery shop. So,
Yeah.
and
I think everybody did.
And I think in that era, if you grew up in the 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
most of our parents,
Yeah.
grandparents, 90s, that was their business.
Yeah.
And as kids, we knew that business because we
Yeah.
grew up in those shops.
Yeah.
And I remember, like you rightly said, tiny spaces but packed full of stock, because obviously our communities needed multicultural brands which were not available in supermarkets at the time, not readily available at least.
No.
So when you said space, I was like, okay, I relate to that. I identify, because you couldn't find space. You're trying to wait for somebody from the other side to walk past you before you could go.
Yeah.
So to have trolley space is a big deal. So you actually changed the shopping experience by creating... That's super.
And it's the opposite, you know, from a retailer now. You're going in and you're getting a small selection of what I would say is called ethnic foods. But in our shop, it was the other way around. It's a small selection of what I would say is British foods. And then we had lots of choice across spices, rice, flour, produce, you know, chilled, frozen, meat, everything. So yeah, it was lots of learning. And then what we did was we eventually sold our business successfully. And then I went to Asda.
How many years did you...
I think we ran
before you went to Asda?
Probably about 8 years we ran the supermarket.
Wow.
And then the family branched out into like different businesses that we've got today. Again, very successful. But then I went to our local Asda. I was moving house as well. Went to Leeds, went to our local Asda and basically asked for a job. It was a bit of a temporary job because I was moving, putting my children into new schools, and literally went in. And luckily that store manager said, okay, go on, I'll give you a job. But obviously, having run a supermarket, you can't really sit still on a checkout. So I was constantly, you know, had eyes on everything. Said, what about that? What about this? What can we do? Eventually, I applied for a role in the head office. So I ended up doing quite a few roles before I sort of pitched to the business about doing World Foods. So I did a bit of HR, merchandising, marketing. And then when I joined the trading floor, I basically, my manager then, I said to him, I said, this is an opportunity. And we took it to the CEO and he said yes.
Let's go through that pitch. Describe that pitch to her, because obviously this is a supermarket. It's already established.
Yes.
Set in their ways, knowing what they do, doing a good job of it.
Yeah.
And you come up with this idea, somebody who's on the shop floor.
And we were...
And, you know, to give that pitch, what was it like? How did you do it? On paper, verbally?
So we took him to the store that I owned, that we owned as a family. I took him there, the CEO, and I said, let's have a look around here. Because I think...
And this is the CEO of Asda?
It was, yes.
Wow.
Took him there.
So you must have had some influence to get him.
Well, my manager was very, very, very good, and he helped on the journey because he, you know, when somebody's bought in to an idea, and I think you can see the value of that. So, and you got to remember, in our supermarket, we only had, because we were in a more Asian demographic environment, geography was more Asian foods, but there was all the other foods. There was African, there's Caribbean, there's our kosher ranging, there's Irish, there's lots of Far Eastern, there's all sorts. So literally, you know, not just Asian, but there was just a huge opportunity. And when he saw that, he said, yeah, I think this would be good for us. And what do you need? You know, we came back and we evaluated, what do we need for this? So a couple of people were on board with us, and literally we started to select the ranging and the suppliers. And, you know, this category is just, it's nothing without all these suppliers that basically make it what it is today. They're constantly innovating. They constantly have challenges as suppliers, you know, working with retailers, working with wholesalers, discounters. You know, the environment's really become very competitive. You know, they're constantly probably challenged on, you know, being the most competitive out there versus all the competitive brands out there. They've got to be on top of everything. So yeah, it's a tough game for them. But we worked together and we landed, if I remember, 2,500 lines across probably about 500 stores.
Is that the first launch?
That was the first launch. So it was, the stores were demographically led by the ranges. So, you know, Asia went into more Asian stores. So yeah, there was a lot of work put in, not just by myself, but honestly, there's teams of merchandising. There's the people that know the stores and they're the geographies around the stores, the demographics around the stores, all that profiling. And then obviously there was that piece of where we're going to put this range. And literally that meant a lot of upset buyers because the space was coming out of other areas. It probably wasn't very liked then in that place, but they could see the benefit. And we did a lot of what I would say engagement. So we did a lot of road shows with the store managers to get them on the journey. Internal, with stakeholders, with teams, different teams that play a crucial part in any range landing. Operations, marketing, everybody that, would be involved in this. And literally when we launched it, it was very successful. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You said there were some challenges. So obviously to launch a concept like that, people think, well, we've already got lots of stock. We're already selling brands. Why do we need a specific aisle dedicated? Did you get any no's from any of the stores? And if so, how did you overcome that?
So the road shows were really key because what we did was we went out with our story and we did 3 locations, I remember, and all the store managers came to the events. And, when you put the products in front of them, so we actually put the ranges in front of them, they actually sample the products. So we did a lot of sampling, so suppliers were there to sample. And when they can see what this is about, and then they can resonate in terms of what's around their store, the local shops, what do they stock? They literally saw that this was going to be a huge opportunity. And then you've got to take the census data, which I know is only updated every 10 years, but the census was showing that ethnicity in the UK was growing. So why would you not, get after it?
Yeah, I cater to that demand.
And cater to that demand. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I think a year later, we did the first festival. So we did Ramadan and Eid. And, it's really pleasing to note that and to see that the retailers have continued that. And now we've got all the additional. We did Diwali, and that's been done out there. We've got Passover for our Jewish communities. And we don't realise it, but Easter, Christmas are really key for our Eastern Europeans, for our African Caribbeans as well. There's certain festivals that, resonates with everybody, but might be celebrated a bit differently. But it's just another opportunity to get after promotions and ranging and bring people together. Food brings people together.
Yeah.
Look what COVID did. People sitting together, eating together, tasting different foods. That's what this is all about. And I would say, especially with COVID, a lot of people started buying into this area because we had availability where, maybe in the mainstream aisles, the lentils and the rice was running out. We had that. And our suppliers had the stock to then fulfill those needs at a really difficult time for everyone.
Yeah, because that was very difficult.
Very difficult.
So I remember queuing for hours before I could even get in. And then when you got in, the shelves were a little bit bare. So, it's just like arts and kind of thing.
People were trading up to, maybe they've never bought a 5 kilo bag of rice, but people buy 5 kilo bags of rice. They've never bought a 5 kilo before.
But in Asian households, we've always bought
we've always bought that. They would buy 10, well, it used to be 20 kilo, if you remember. Yeah. Everybody used to buy a 20 kilo.
Yeah.
But now sort of 10 and 5 are very popular.
So your contribution is huge then, because it's, rightly, like you said, the statistics are showing that there's quite, we're the South Asians are the largest minority community in the UK. But, that, all the other communities as well, all the minority communities, the world food, like it's been labelled, there's a big buying power.
Oh, yes.
There's lots of spend going on.
Yeah.
And you came in with the idea because you had the knowledge of cultural buying habits.
Yes.
And that was transformational.
Yeah. I mean, when you say knowledge, I mean, obviously our supermarket is all about sort of the Asian-led, but and it was about getting that knowledge. It's about
'Cause
going out and
yeah.
seeing the communities, talking to these people, and also utilising our stores.
Correct.
You know, getting them to understand more about their community. And the biggest knowledge power out there is our suppliers, our brands. They know their brand, they know their stuff, they know what's right, what's wrong.
Because it's not just a product, is it? Like, you know, many years ago in supermarkets, I remember oil bottles,
Yeah,
vegetable oil, sunflower. You just have the bottles. Now you actually see the big drums. And you'll have them on offer. And normally that used to be just in the Asian shops, but they understand cultural habits within Asian communities. We buy big packs, big 5 kg rice, for example, big drums of oil, not the small bottles.
We do.
So that is very visibly now available in the mainstream supermarkets, which prior to World Foods, it wasn't just about the brands that you brought in, it was also those habits of bulk buying that we
absolutely
as a community do.
And you know, people are very loyal to some brands. Customers are very loyal to what they, you know, what their, you know, parents have used, and you know that goes down into generations, and you know, but yeah, no, it's exciting. And you know, then obviously that seasonal side where there's a very important time to celebrate and be involved in, you know, whether it's Ramadan, whether it's Diwali, whether it's Passover, whether it's Easter, Christmas, you know, these are all important for everybody. And it's a time when not only you have a commercial opportunity because you promote different products, but you bring in new products as well because they're seasonally led. You know, it's a bit like Christmas cake at Christmas, you know, for Eid and Diwali and Passover, and you know, in fact, Passover, there's all the lines come in specially. So yeah, there's lots of these seasonal lines that then you bring in to satisfy the needs of those customers.
When you look back now at this journey and you walk into a supermarket and you see that aisle, and you know that that was because of an idea that you had that you put to the CEO at Asda, that it's now in so many supermarkets. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, very proud, but there's, you know, I think the most important thing that's got me through all these, like, you know, since leaving our jobs and then opening up a supermarket, you know, very important to me is our parents. They taught us how to be resilient, how to do things. Their characteristics were, it didn't matter what was happening, they just went through any challenge. So, you know, they have been absolutely crucial for us. To, you know, I hope and wish I will be like my mum and dad, because they were just amazing. They taught us never to be afraid of something, and to challenge it and to do the right thing. That was probably the most important thing. And that's what we did.
That's amazing, because obviously with your parents, you saw them have a business, do business, work hard, graft, be sincere to their craft as well.
Absolutely.
And that's probably sort of carried down onto you. But, you know, what you've done is a bit more than business. It's a cultural change, a cultural shift. And creating, you know, a need, you know, filling the gap for a need that you had. When did you realise that? When did you realise that it wasn't just about creating business for these supermarkets? It was actually a cultural shift as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, once we first landed and you could see the success of what we're doing, as you know, in the retailer that I was in Asda was amazing, because it wasn't just a celebration for, you know, for our category. It was for everybody who was involved. And when you see those customers coming through the door and filling their trolleys up with products that they probably would never buy, you know, it's having that trust in the retailer. Like, I'll give you an example, is halal. You know, buying halal from a retailer, you got to trust it.
Correct.
You got to trust that that product is right, and it is halal, or what it's saying on the packet is what it is. So, in fact, halal had because it's so sensitive as well, had a bit of a difficult journey in being influencing retailers to put that in So, you know, it's lots of accreditations out there, and you know, without going into all the halal story, but yeah, it was difficult to bring that in, but they believed that it was the right thing to do, and halal is huge, because it's not just meat.
It's a £1 billion industry, isn't it?
But it's not just meat. It's your chilled, it's your frozen, it's your convenience. It's confectionery. There's makeup. There's pet food.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's absolutely huge. But you know, when I look at it, I think, you know, when I see it all and it's growing and I see it in new places, I'm just thankful to everybody who is part and parcel of this.
Amazing. I'm going to go through now. They say women are terrible when it comes to business and negotiations. You're clearly, you clearly don't prove true to that statement, because you've done exactly that. Because you said, over 2,000 lines you brought into the World Food Aisles.
Yeah.
So you must have had to negotiate.
Yeah.
With brands to say,
Yes.
look, we're doing this because it's a new thing. Nobody's done it before. And it's a woman
Yes.
with male media, I can imagine, dominated industry.
Yeah.
Telling them, I'm planning to launch this and I want to have your brand in this. And many of these brands perhaps have never been to a mainstream supermarket.
Yeah.
And you're bringing them there for the first time.
I mean,
what was that process like? How did you negotiate and get them to buy into your
sort of dream it was?
dream? Yeah, because you've convinced the CEO.
Yeah.
You've convinced the supermarket. Now they've said you do it.
Yeah.
It's your project.
Yeah.
And 2,000 lines, not a small number.
No, it isn't.
So I'm just thinking, Noor, hats off to you. 2,000 lines. How did you get that in? What was that process?
So the good news is, having run the supermarket,
Family business,
family business, we had a lot of knowledge on the brands out there.
Yeah.
And obviously we're buying those brands ourselves as families. We're shopping those brands. So, you know, there was a lot of knowledge in some of the areas already. What was the challenging part was bringing in those new areas and finding the suppliers for those. But you only had to go to a local independent shop that was local to that demographic and have a look what's out there. And, you know, check the packet and give them a call. You know, there was I don't think there was any resistance. I think they were just, I think they were surprised. And I think they wanted to be on the journey with us.
He's really good at your job.
Yeah, you could say that. Probably they were a little
good
bit
at convincing people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, you know, we've had to put things in place and, you know, sort of rules and regulations and packaging and testing, you know, checking accreditations, checking technical products, because you've got to remember, a lot of brands out there can't afford to go BRC, or even salsa is really hard for small brands. So it was quite tough to when you're selecting those kind of products, you don't want to miss anybody out. But I think we took what I would say is the bigger brands to start off with. And then as we evolved, it started changing and bringing in new brands and bringing innovation in as well, because that's what this is all about. This, like any category, although I would say World Foods is probably the most innovative out there, not just because I've been part of that journey, but it really is. Every time I look at LinkedIn or look at social media or anything, there's something new happening in this World Food arena. And, you know, I don't think we can call it World Food anymore. It's like, it's becoming very mainstream, and lots of people are buying into it. But, you know, it wouldn't have happened without, you know, the buy-in from, the seniors and stakeholders. But like I said, these suppliers have been really key. They've come in on the journey. And I hope today they're still growing. I think a lot of them are, because the demands are now there for them.
And as a result of your work, look at these
Yeah.
really awards you've won. So many.
Yes.
I mean, I was so proud to be with you recently when you won the award
Yes.
from the top 50 global women phenomenal
Yeah, it's
organisation
amazing.
based in Sri Lanka. And I can see that one says Power 100, is that right?
Yes,
The
yeah,
most
yeah.
Power 100 in 2018.
Yes.
So tell us, like, you've got a huge cabinet full, I'm sure.
I have. I've only
This
brought...
is just a small
Yes,
selection. But you've also got a King's British Empire medal.
Yes, I have. That was amazing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell us about when you went to receive that.
Oh, that was... it was actually at a venue up north, and you have a lieutenant, is it, that is for the region, and I went there and I received it there. But I did get invited to Buckingham Palace, and for a tea party. Oh, that was amazing. And I was only allowed one person to go with me. There was a long list.
Who did you take?
Well, I had to take the husband. I mean, obviously, I needed to still remain married. So he had to come with me. But I think he enjoyed it more than me. But yeah, it was just amazing seeing all these people that have received medals. I mean, literally, the late Her Majesty Queen was just in eyesight. She was just there. So it was brilliant. It was a lovely sunny day, and went and across with all these other medalists to go and enjoy and have, amazing tea and cakes together. So it was brilliant.
Cucumber sandwiches?
Oh, there was loads to choose from. There was loads. I loved it. But yeah, no, and suppose receiving medals like this is, it's a great honour, and it's fantastic because it sort of gives you that more confidence to, do good, do much better, and I think the other thing is I'm hoping it helps others to realise that they can be award winners too. I'm always trying to help or pushing other people to say, look, you need to go for this, you need to go for that.
Yeah.
It does. I've been very lucky in that a lot of these have been put forward on my behalf, which is fantastic. But, there's loads of people doing amazing things out there. And we forget to sort of, shall I say, credit ourselves that we're doing this.
It's important to have that validation sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to say, you don't realise because you're just grafting away, you're just working. You just think you're just doing what
you're just doing
a
daily job.
Yeah, but by getting this kind of recognition, like you rightly said, that it actually empowers others to think, that's amazing, she's done this.
Yeah.
I have an opportunity to also then aspire to be like that,
Absolutely.
or to do something like that.
No.
So you give people aspirations. When I asked you, you've got so many awards, and I asked you, so which one do you hold most valuable, most precious to you? I thought you would very easily say it's the one that's given from the royal household, the British Empire Medal, but it wasn't.
No,
it was this award.
Yes.
So I'm just going to bring this here to show everybody. And that is a special prayer from the Quran, and we know that as the Ayatul Kursi.
Yes.
Tell me about this. What is the reason that you've chosen this to be your most valuable award?
I think what it is it's in the cupboard with everything else.
It's okay. I'll get you tissue.
So that, Fatima, is the Ayatul Kursi, and basically it's got me through some of the difficult times. Fatima, this is really important to me. My deen is very, very important to me, and something that my mum and dad were very close to as well. And literally any challenge I've had, anything upheavals that I've had to go through, and there has been lots of challenges like everybody does go through. But, I've had that in front of me. Every prayer I read at home, it's there for me. I read it every day. And I feel like there's some strong, power with me to help me through these things. So yeah, that is, the biggest award is being able to look at that and just remind me and just read it as many times as possible in the day. So yeah, that's how important it is. Deen is very important to me.
wow, that's extremely powerful and very, very symbolic.
Yeah.
Very symbolic.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
No problem.
Yeah, it must have been very difficult.
Yes.
And it's like you said, especially when you're working in an industry that's very male dominated.
It is.
You have this exterior. And as women, we always have to show it even more that we're tough.
Yes.
We're hard. We're resilient. And we never let our vulnerabilities show.
Yes.
So,
and I think we all have because we go through lots of challenges, it's important that we share those and help others make their life better. So, I enjoy working with organisations to go into schools and talk about career development and talk about developing skills like confidence. And then the other thing I enjoy doing, which is sometimes very hard to get into, is the prison work that I do.
Come to that.
Yeah. So, I get, for whatever reason, they're in there, but, we all have a role to play to help people get back on track, and everybody deserves a chance, and everybody deserves to earn out there and have a good life, just like, and it is very hard for them, because the minute they say that they're ex-offender, then getting a job is quite difficult. But what I do is I go in with a stance of maybe becoming an entrepreneur, given the business experience and the commercial side. So we go in there and have a bit of fun, really, thanks to Dragon's Den. So
you say that, but just for the purpose of our audience, just so, those people who are watching this.
Yeah.
So what Noor does is very not traditional at all. She actually goes into prisons, mainly where there's male inmates, and she does a Dragon's Den style workshop with them.
Yeah, they go
to
into
teach them
groups.
entrepreneurial skills.
Yeah.
Go into groups, and then they have to pitch to you and another panel of people.
Yes.
And what possessed you to do that?
So I was...
Why? Because, somebody like me, I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah.
You think...
No, there is
you're a woman wearing a hijab, visible, so that might not always come across well with some people.
Yeah.
So
No,
firstly,
absolutely.
there's always that as a barrier.
No, absolutely.
And then you're going in where people will think, well, these people are not nice, perhaps, because they're obviously in there for a reason.
Yeah.
You've got all of these preconceived notions even before you actually go into the prison to then start working with them.
Yes.
It takes guts to do
it does.
that. So what possessed you to do this?
So basically, I was part of the Prince's Trust mentoring program, and that part of that was to go out to prisons and mentor. Unfortunately, I couldn't do all the sort of the weekly bits, and I thought maybe we could do something or create something that we could do and go out there on an ad hoc basis. And then it's sort of working with Manish from Here and Now, and initially Dave Kamani, who is from Shana. Basically, together we formed what we call Noor's Den, basically. But we go in and we have a bit of fun, basically teaching them what the challenge is out there at the moment in creating a business. So we've got a marketing expert, we've got a food manufacturing expert, and then I sort of come away from with the commercial side. But what we do together is we get them into groups. So they've got to learn to work with each other. They've got to pull a business together. We give them the tools, and then they've got to present that product or idea or service idea at the end of the day in front of the governors. And I can tell you they all start as really quite nervous, to tell you the truth. But by the end of the day, that confidence in there, and we've had some amazing products, ideas. But the idea of all of this is, for them to think, what is this an option when they come out, and is that something that they want to do? Everybody has challenges in their lives, and I think what we have to do as business professionals is not just have a day job and we've got a family and everything, but we have a role to play in our society. It starts from our neighbourhood, but in the wider society as well, we have to play that role. And mentoring is free of charge. Nobody has to. It's not something you pay for.
It's your time.
It's your time. That's the only thing you have to give, and we've all got a little bit of time we can give out there. Yeah.
Oh, very kind. In terms of the work that you did in prison, can you recall any particular standout moment from any of the workshops that you did?
Yeah, there was a prisoner who basically came up to me at the end of the day, and he just said, "I've just got, just want to say one thing to you." And I thought, "Oh dear, what have I done?" And he said, "You've just made me feel like a human being again."
Oh,
Yeah, so that was quite emotional. Yeah,
yeah,
quite emotional. But yeah, because I think when you become part of something, you're then the perception out there is very easily,
So these workshops, are they like a whole day?
whole day,
Whole day.
whole day, and then I'd love to have more prisons, get in touch, and so we can do more of these because since COVID, it's been quite hard to get back in. But it's something I'd like to do more of and to get out there and help.
Well, we've seen the positive impact that come, as you get to the end. But when you start, was there any hostility?
Oh, definitely. There's right at the start, there'll be people who are not comfortable with sitting there and doing this. They'll walk out the room, we've had that. But I think then they realise that we're giving our time up to be here to help them. And then they realise that actually they can only, get involved and benefit from it. And they end up having a lot of fun. With the one prison, we actually went and, had lunch with them, made lunch and had lunch with them. So yeah, and the facilities are great. Some of the prisons we've been into are lots of facilities in terms of developing and learning new skills. But the problem we've got is once they need to get back out there and get a job, it is quite challenging and hard. And, we need more businesses to be able to support that agenda.
Fantastic. And that's not the only, give back that you do. You sit on so many boards, charitable institutions, like you are a trustee on the board for Peace Hall, but then you've got so many other charities that you also
support. But the main one is the Peace Hall, and again, that is, I don't know if, Fatima, if you've ever been to the Peace Hall.
Oh, I've been a couple of times.
Oh, I love it. You fall in love with that place. I mean, it's this huge building and the heritage and just sometimes I just go there just to sit there and have a good long think. Just to really it's fantastic. But I fell in love with it and met the Nikki, who's the CEO there, and I just said, this is something I want to be part of, and I'm still part of that. And again, I would recommend to anybody to be part of, get a trustee role, chair role, and be part of these organisations. Again, it's your time, but you develop, but you'll also see other people on that board that you will learn from as well. And the other thing you're doing is you're giving your valuable advice and suggestions into something that then becomes bigger and better.
You're contributing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you're contributing.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Shaping that charity into becoming becoming the best version or getting the best out of the opportunities available to them.
So I think everybody should be out there looking for opportunities on how they can get developed, and becoming a trustee, getting on boards is definitely one of them.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've worked for both Asda and Morrison.
Yes.
And you've been very closely working with both CEOs of both supermarkets.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask you, which one's your favourite? Or is that a bit controversial?
No, that's a bit controversial. No, I mean, there's so many amazing senior people in these retailers, and they have a hard task to do because they've got to balance the whole, it's the whole store, it's the whole agenda, and but it's like I do work with all of them now, being in supplier world.
Yeah.
So
for P&B Foods.
Yes, P&B Foods. So
it's been a full circle.
Yes, it has.
Combination.
Yeah.
Own Asian branded supermarket.
I've done the independent, I've done the retailers, and now with the supplier side. But I've worked for JK Foods and now P&B Foods. But coming into P&B, they're a business that is just growing and wanting to, really develop. But the amazing thing with them is that they want to do it in the right way, so bringing in the expertise to then help them do that. They're opening a oil and ghee factory, and which is going to be
an oil and ghee factory in Bradford.
Here in Bradford, yes. Wow.
It's going to be huge.
It is, and you must come and see it, Padmas. Definitely, we're looking at sort of May, June for it to open. But it's going to be state of the art. It's going to have products, and that's what this innovation side. I love it because you're being part of something that is going to be available to our shoppers for the future. And there's trends out there. Ghee is seen as the most healthiest.
It is now. Yeah, back then it was like, no, it's fattening, this, that.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, I need a bit of ghee in my coffee. Yeah. How times have changed and lifestyle's so different now, isn't it?
So and it's just great being, and as I say, I'm now working with all the retailers, being part of the supplier, and not just retailers, but I now work with loads of discounters, loads of wholesalers, food service, and it's amazing. It's brilliant. And at the same time, I get to, I've kept in touch with a lot of suppliers, and they're always, if there's anything they ever get stuck with, it's a phone call away. Just, what do you think of this? And they're always good to ask the questions. I always do say, when you're coming up with any new ideas, just ask somebody else.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as a supplier yourself, you get a bit sort of straight away, and you need to open it a little bit and just get other people's advice on this.
Yeah.
But no, as I say, innovation. I love innovation. Yeah. I love products.
Yeah, I can tell. You've worked with so many brands, big brands.
Yeah.
Like Chanel, you mentioned, working with you at prison.
Yeah.
Obviously, P&B Foods, Hira is their brand.
Yeah.
And numerous other brands.
Yeah.
Chaii, thanks to you. We obviously got the introduction. But so many big South Asian, but also world food brands.
World food brands, It's all the Eastern European and, like Polish specialities, they were also on that buyers program that I did. But they play a crucial part to this industry that is just growing fast.
And it's quite proud, it's a proud moment for us when we see brands, that South Asians recognise as their brands, the brands that they consume, their heritage, their culture. And to be able to then shape that, work with them, nurture them, so that they can also be a part in mainstream spaces.
Exactly.
But, in terms of also that culture and habit, and I suppose that started from your own family supermarket, to change that trading habits. So it's not just buying habits.
Yes.
It's changing how we actually do business as well.
Yes.
To have that ecosystem, to have that infrastructure. Because I go back to my dad having the grocery shop.
Yeah.
And, there was no infrastructure.
Where was that? Where was it?
In Lidger Green.
Oh, Lidger Green.
Yeah, BD7. So, we had two sections. One was to control the front side, which was the grocery side, the sweets, the chocolates, and everything. And then we had a back section, and that's where the butcher's section was.
Yes.
And we had two. We had one in Bradford and one in Bingley.
Oh, fantastic.
And Bingley was obviously a newspaper. All of that kind of stuff. So subconsciously there were sections, but there was no structure.
Like structure and layout.
It was like paper boys not turn up, knock on the door, get out, go do the paper round, or go stack the shelves, go or whatever. And you just mucked in because it was a family business. And there were no roles, duties. Everybody just did whatever needed doing, and you just stepped in.
Yeah.
Now everybody has a role. That's your duty.
That's
your duty. That's yours. And there's now infrastructure, structure. Now, as a result of that, a lot of our South Asian brands have now grown to what an extent. It's just, they're scaled up massively. Era Foods is one such brand.
Yes,
and you'll be working closely with them.
Yeah.
Still a family business, isn't it?
And,
and the way they're scaling.
Yeah. And
what you thought on oil and the ghee factory.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. And you mentioned independence, but independents are still today really, really important for this food industry. What the part our ethnic communities play in independent shops. It's huge. It's massive, and they're still very, very important out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of our shoppers are still shopping. You know, you can go to a retailer, and you will find a selection. You go to an independent, whether it's a Polish independent or whether it's a Asian independent, you will find a selection that is huge. You have choice.
Yeah.
And that's something no retailer can do.
And they have that niche as well.
Oh, yes.
They know specifically what that community wants.
Yeah, and they're close to the locals, they're close to the community.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got to be very mindful that what the independents, how important they still are today.
I'm glad you said that, because I remember my mum and dad's shop wasn't just a shop. It's like a community centre.
Yeah.
People used to come in and ask load and tell you all your problems.
Yeah.
You can't really go into a supermarket checkout and do that, you know, at Morrison's or Asda. But, you know, at our mum and dad's shop, people would be there for hours just offloading, just telling my mum and dad stuff. And I've spoken to guests who have sat here and told me that, you know, their parent shop was where they learned how to give back to charity, because that's where a lot of people also found help.
Yes,
I remember my dad used to make me fill in people's forms for them.
Yes.
Yeah, you go to school, you do English, this person needs a form filling, you do it. You know, it was like that kind of environment. And you must have seen a lot of that over the years.
Yeah, and even when we had our independent shop, that family supermarket, it was amazing. It's, you know, regulars coming in, you know, having a chat about things, being able to support and help the community. What you get to know with loads of sort of locals coming in, you get to know what's going on around the community, where you can help, where you can support. So yeah, no, it's really, really important, and they're still very, very important today. Very important for our industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you see the face of supermarkets and independent shops changing today now? Because obviously shopping was very different in the 80s and 90s. And now you've got, you know, Asda, Morrison are not just selling produce, you can even buy insurance. Yeah. You can buy all sorts now from them. And our South Asian supermarkets are also stepping up.
Yes, they are.
You know, in terms of their offering. Yeah. You know, I've seen quite a lot recently invest huge amounts in terms of their space, and even making them 24 hours opening, having a little bakery section and lots of other changes.
Definitely.
So what do you think, you know, to that, and how do you see...
It's fantastic to see these independents to basically step up, because that's really, really important for them to compete, to stay in competition with everybody else. So yes, they are, and some of the things they're doing, some of the sort of even the butchery shops, what they're doing, and they've got like a supermarket part to it, and it's amazing to see. It's fantastic. You know, the forecourts, you know, who would think that you could go to a petrol station and there's a range of ethnic foods, you know, so yeah, it's fantastic. It's really, really definitely evolving all the time. And coming up with the new ideas as well. You know, I think recently I saw Co-op has launched halal meat. Yeah. You know, it's just another retailer grabbing that part of the market and getting out there. So yeah, and you know, let it sort of continue. Yeah. Because it just benefits our suppliers, our brands. It helps them grow. It helps the economy.
And there's convenience for the
for the shoppers. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that's absolutely great to hear. I think in terms of your own business journey, I mean, you've been part of this sector, part of this industry for so many years. What would you say has been your most biggest learning from it all?
Oh wow, what a question that is, Fatima. I think the learning has been, you know, initially it was a lot of hard work. Yeah. And eventually what I started doing was I started balancing more in terms of giving, you know, and working. And, you know, it's really important people understand how they're doing this. You know, I'm really blessed that I've got a great family. I've got, you know, my children and my brothers, my sisters. and you got to make time for this.
And you've got a huge family, haven't you?
Yes, and
Not
I've
a
got
lot
a
of people know
grandchild. I've got a grandchild now as well, so I've got to give time.
And you have a twin as well.
I have a twin. So yeah, but you know, I think the learning is that as you're working so hard, don't forget that there's another side to your life in terms of, you know, sometimes I try and split it into three. There's that work.
Yeah.
I know people call it's work-life balance, but how I say it's work, it's your life. But then it's that balance for me is that giving bit.
Yeah.
It's are we making enough time to, you know, do we, you know, sometimes we're in a neighbourhood and, you know, you ask yourself, oh, I haven't been to number 3 I haven't seen Andrew for nearly 3 months. What am I doing? He's only there. You know, you ask yourself that, are you making time for the important things that around you? And family is, now that, as I say, I've got a grandchild as well now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alia. So I'm now dedicate one day a week to Alia. So I can, you know, and it's fantastic. It's the best thing that's ever happened. So
it's so important you mention that because it seems really simple, doesn't it? But it's not.
No, it's not. Because
we get so consumed.
Yes. Yeah.
But sometimes we don't make that time.
Oh yes. When you're working hard away, don't get me wrong. When we were opening the supermarket with my brothers, you know, Faisal was only a little baby then, but literally I needed to be there every hours just to get the supermarket open. We were adding everything onto an EPOS system, so it was really hard. But as you become more experienced and as you start learning a little bit more about what is going on around you, that learning is that make time for what's really important in your life, because time's going so fast, and you never want to sort of regret that. I wish I did this. I wish I did that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes sense. I mean, we talk about learning, but we don't talk about unlearning.
Yes.
And I know in my life, I've had to realise that I need to unlearn this. That's not right. For me. Or in my journey. Have you ever experienced any of that? Yeah,
no, definitely. There'll be things that you'll be saying, you know, why did I do that? Why have I done this? What am I doing that for? But that, you know, that in itself, to be able to know and learn from it, that I think people learn lots of things in life, but they maybe don't take the action that they need to. You know, there's always lots of learnings, but do they change something to then move forward, which is sometimes quite hard to do, because you might not know what to do, what's the right thing to do. You know, I see so many people will call me and say, "Look, no, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to do there." But you know something, the fact that they just call me or call somebody, that's in itself is a good move. You know, if anybody's got any challenges, you know, talk to somebody, because you won't be on your own out there. There'll be others who have experienced the same challenges that you're having, and people sometimes are afraid to seek for help. But all of us have got to do a lot more. Learning about where can we give a little bit more time to others that need it the most.
Very, very valuable advice. Speaking of advice, I'm sure there's plenty of our viewers out there who are all sat there thinking, I've got the best cake brand, I've got the best beauty brand, I've got the best pet brand, I've got the best this brand. How do I get this into supermarket shelves?
Well,
what tips can you share? Because there's so many people.
People normally pay for that advice, Fatima.
They do. Don't give the advice, just tips. They don't need to know how, but they just need to know what can they do to make their brand good enough to be able to position it onto a supermarket shelf. How do you know your brand, firstly, is good enough to be
I think the
considered
thing is,
to be on a mainstream supermarket shelf?
I think what you've got to do when you've got a brand is to, first of all, you know, understand where does it live, where is it positioned, who is your competitor on that brand, and the first thing to do is probably go and get your brand into these fantastic independents out there who would welcome, you know, and give you space for you to go and test your brands out, test the varieties, test the flavourings, whatever it may be. Go and do that, so that when you do go to a supermarket, you've gone in with the with sound results. You know, yeah, this is my brand. These are the products we've tested out there. Actually, we had 5 flavours. These are our top 3. And, you know, we're in so many independents. You know, I'd like my product to be more accessible to others. What I would say to you is that, you know, checking your competition. I mean, I've been on panels where, you know, like the Business Growth Hub, where brands come in to get mentoring advice on their journey, and it's usually startups. But I've had products that are that big. You know, you sort of got to, you know, unfortunately, this is where new brands need to sort of go and test their products out everywhere. Test it and see what works, and then be confident about what you're putting forward. And do your commercials. That's one thing I'd always say. I've seen a lot out there that check your commercial, check you're making money. Nobody goes into, you know, a business not to make money.
Absolutely.
So make sure you're making money. Make sure you're checking where you're buying your commodities from. Can you do a better job? And the most important advice I'd say is get some support. So, you know, go to one of the suppliers. Ask them, what was their journey like? How did they get to be in the supermarket? What were the challenges? Because once you know what the challenge is out there, or what kind of things you need to be thinking about, you will then be sort of retail ready to approach that buyer. Yeah.
Great advice. And if they need further advice, and you're available for consultations. That's brilliant. Well, for all the years that you've been in this industry and you've worked with so many brands going into the supermarkets, or you yourself have got them in, what would you say has been the most interesting or the most innovative brand that you've seen in recent time come in?
Oh, what a question that is. I think what I'd say to you is that you know, I think halal is really evolving. Yeah, what I've seen, and some of the product ranging that I'm seeing out there on halal has just been amazing. It's like not just a simple, you know, chicken cut. You've got this marination. You've got you know, steaks. You've got things that are really now you know, trending, and that the next generation is definitely driving what to do out there. But yeah, I think the way I'm seeing the halal sector move, and it's halal in itself has had a lot of support, I would say, in that you've got the likes of the halal festivals, you know, the Ramadan Eid times where they do all these exhibitions, and that's really helping to drive that market. And you go out there, and I don't know if you've been to sort of the one that's at London, the Halal Food Festival.
Waleed.
Yeah, and it's just what you see out there, because it's not just halal from a food point of view. You've got things like like I said, the clothing, the makeup, the everything else that is part and parcel of that. So yeah, I think the most innovative area I've seen is probably the halal side.
Amazing. So starting a new year, we're in 2026. What would you say? You've mentioned that halal food now is looking incredibly innovative, and there's an incredible future ahead. What would you say is the future ahead now for world foods brands, especially, you know, now that the world food aisles are in the mainstream supermarkets? What does that look like now for 2026 going forward?
Well, there's not just the retailers. You know, it's all the other food service. It's the wholesalers. Convenience is massive. You know, these smaller express type stores. They're even finding space within their area to put.
Yeah, because I've noticed so many Morrison Expresses, Tesco Expresses. They're also creating those little.
Yes.
So there clearly is.
Yeah.
A demand for small.
There is.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is that I've seen that, you know, take for example, You go into restaurants now, and it's not just about an Indian dish. It's about a Mexican dish. It's about all this other foods.
Yeah, you go to a curry house, you can now order a lasagna.
Yeah.
Or a pizza.
Yes. So I think and you've got to think, what are the ingredients that are making all this? You know, we've got halal Far Eastern out there now. You know, we've got lots of things now in terms of these suppliers have got opportunities to sort of grow their channels, shall I say. And it's not just the retailers, but there's all these other channels to grab hold of and get in there. It's a lot of opportunities, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I think on the case of opportunities, I think it's been an absolutely amazing opportunity for us to have you here.
No, thank
to
you.
take valuable time out, because I know you're very busy. You're a grandma, firstly.
Yes.
You're still a mother to a lovely girl, a lovely, beautiful woman, I should say. She's a teacher, is her daughter.
Yes.
And you have obviously a son who is
Yes.
the proud father of your
Yeah.
granddaughter. And then obviously you've got a husband to look after as well. And you do so much work for P&B Foods.
Yeah.
You sit on so many boards for so many charitable trusts. You do so much community work. So I don't know where you get your me time from, but we're really appreciative of the time you've taken
Yeah,
out
thank
to
you.
come here
Appreciate
and sit
it.
with us
Yeah.
and share insights into an industry that people are not fully aware of, and that everybody wants a piece or be involved in some
Yeah.
shape or form, either through their product or, you know, get in there somehow in terms of business. So we really appreciate that.
No, thank
and
you.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
And may you continue to succeed and
Yes.
continue to winning more awards and continue doing all the good
Well,
work.
I think the awards now should be, you know, the next brilliant people out there, and they should be putting themselves forward and encouraging others to. So.
Well, I know you keep doing that to me.
Yes,
You keep sending me links saying, right, you need to position yourself to go for this award, this one. And that's what's so incredibly amazing about you, because you don't just think about what you need to do for your own self in terms of showing your work, but you like to show other people as well, and guide them and mentor them and support them. And I think that's such a good, you know, characteristic to have. And I think, you know, we are really proud and really delighted to have you join us on Chaii Charcha, powered by Chaii.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Chaii
the best.
Charcha.